The only purpose of man's sojourn on this earth is to seek God. A person whose mind is bent towards meditation will make of everything a meditation. The sound of the breeze, the rustling trees, his whole life will be a meditation. That's what you must try to do. Make everything in your life a meditation. It is natural to be disturbed by worldly things, but the worldly things are important. To live in the world, they are the ways of Maya. Give them their due importance. Do the work in time, but do not give them your heart. Put your heart in it. Put your heart in worldly things of delusion, illusion, and error. Give Maya your heart, but give God your soul. Never give your soul to worldly things. Your wholesome living can be in the world of materialism. Become rich. Buy a Ferrari, buy $1 million necklace. Be wholehearted in what you live. It is holistic living in this world. Enjoy everything, be attached to nothing. Wholesome living, give to the world. Soulsome living, give to God. Your holistic living should be with your material world, but your soulistic living should be one with God. There is a very fine distinction in this. If you will notice, how can you give your holistic living? What is meant by giving your holistic living to the world? Suppose somebody makes me a lovely marmalade creme brulee. It's a dessert. I should put all my heart in it and enjoy it. And normally we not only enjoy it, if we eat it too many times we get attached to it. That is very wholesome living. Somebody gives you a nice Mercedes car, you enjoy it. It is wholesome living. But your wholesome living has an attachment to the object that you use. I buy a camera that I like. Need not be the best, but it's suited to me. So I'm doing wholesome living by enjoying the camera, taking photographs. I'm attached to the camera and I enjoy it. That's human nature. That is wholesome living. What is the other corollary of it? What is the soulsome living? In soulsome living, you enjoy the things of the world like in wholesome living. But your enjoyment and the purchase of your commodity, whether it be a person, place or thing, whether it be getting engaged to the life partner you like, or whether it be going to a beautiful place, in Himachal Pradesh or Kashmir or the French Riviera or the Blue Danube, or whether it be the purchase of a commodity like the best Patek Philippe watch or a Maserati car. This is wholesome living, but you are attached to it. The same thing you can purchase. It becomes soulsome living when your desires, when your purchase is motivated through your desires. It is the wholesome living of materialism. When your purchase or when your activities are motivated through desirelessness and through consciousness, it is soulful living. So when you are in the world, you do wholesome living, holistic living. You desire the things you want, you purchase those things you want and you enjoy them. That's wholesome living. But in the spiritual path, even though you are in the material world, you purchase those things but are not attached to them, because your motivation, if through desire, is wholesome living. Your motivation, if through consciousness, is soulsome living. There is no attachment in soulsome living. And that's the same detachment from the material world when you focus on God. That is the time you give Him your soulsome living. You make an effort to be with God with full intensity, with full love. Maybe with full desire at the times, but there is no attachment to your progress. The motivation is love. So any activity which is motivated through desire is wholesome living. Any activity which is motivated through consciousness is soulsome living. You buy it not for the sake of satisfying your desire, you buy it for the sake of necessity, but your life, your consciousness is totally focused on God. So the first thing is to cut off all attachment. I'm not saying don't desire. Desire, enjoy, love, but don't be attached to that desire. The attachment means a craving. So in holistic living, there may be a danger of craving for that thing again and again and sorrowing for it when it departs. In Soulistic living, there is a desire, but there is no craving for it. So when it leaves you, you are not attached to it. There is no attachment to that, the desire. There is no attachment to the purchase of the object or the style of your living. There is no attachment. Your only goal is to progress towards the divine. And initially there will be a desire. You will desire God. But in the ultimate sense, even that desire will have to be detached. It will have to be dissolved if you want to be in the supreme reality. So initially, even in soulsome living, there is desire and no attachment. But as you advance towards God, there is neither desire nor attachment in soulful living. There just is. You are experiencing the divine. Because desire itself is an obstacle to seeking God. Attachment itself is an obstacle to seeking God. And when both desire and the attachment to that desire are dissolved, then you are doing soulful living. You are in the now. So in materialism, you can have wholesome living, enjoy life, be with it. Then after some time, you have to cut the bonds of desire, the bonds of attachment to that desire, which is a constant craving for the object or the person or the place. So our techniques of Kriya Yoga are not called karma. They don't create, they are called akarma. There is an urge to do it. There is a motivation to do it. But there is no attachment to that motivation. And besides, there is one more thing which you feel, that the alchemy or the magic of God is, if you desire material things, you get attached to them. If you desire God, you do not get attached to Him. That is the beauty of, I'm using the word God because it's a short word. I'm talking about the supreme reality. Because the nature of supreme reality is desirelessness. The nature of supreme reality is detachment. Do you understand? So when we go along the path of spirituality, we are detached. We don't have any desire nor the attachment for that desire. In the initial stages, even for Adhyatma or the yogic path or the soulful living, there is a desire to live soulfully. But we must not become a slave to that desire. Attachment to that desire is becoming a slave to the desire. When there's no attachment to a desire, you're still not a slave to the desire, because you can kick it off, knock it off anytime. But when there's attachment to that desire, then you become a slave to that desire. So attachment to the desire is very important. And usually attachment never comes so often to a fulfilled desire. Attachment always comes to an unfulfilled desire. And great masters, if you see, like Jnanavatar Sri Yukteswar, And he often used to teach Paramahansa Yoganand. And he says, my son, the cause of reincarnation is unfulfilled desires. When those desires are unfulfilled, so in this life, you may as well, instead of falsely trying to suppress it, it depends. If it's here, it can be transformed into love. If it's come up to here, get it out. Get out with it. Use it. You want to own a Mercedes car, it's come up to here. You're trying to suppress it. No. Go and buy it. Buy your Porsche, buy your Mercedes. Get over with it and then get to your meditation. Otherwise, it's come right to the fore. Right? So you can either get over with it. This is one of the things and fulfill that desire. Or you can bypass it, which requires a tremendous alchemy of transformation of the desire into desirelessness. Because what will you replace it with? The human mind has to replace it with something. So if your urge for God is stronger than the desire you have, then you can replace it with your love for God. And remember one thing, that the supreme reality is imperishable. So you can have soulful living with the imperishable. And material desires, which consist of a person broadly categorized. It consists of a person, place, or thing. And all people, all places, and all things are subject to change and transformation and temporary destruction, right? Because they are transformed. So therefore, when you get this in this idea, all this material wealth, all the loved ones, all material stuff is ultimately meets its nemesis, its doomsday. All human beings must die, in the normal sense of the word, not the special yogis, not the great yogeshwars. But the normal people are subject to death. All places must undergo change. You go to a city, you go 30 years or 40 years after the whole city is changed, you can't recognize the place. It's subject to change. All things are also subject to change. They are destructible, they are transformable. The most beautiful cars, someday or the other, must go to the junkyard. And this reminds me, it's just a little going off the topic, a stray incident. I went to a restaurant once in Düsseldorf. And I went to this place, it was a nice, beautiful place. Then I saw a car which was to the side of the restaurant. And trees and plants were growing through the car. This is Germany, mind you. They are very particular about looking after their cars in a very good condition. And out from behind the steering wheel came a veil, a tree, and it covered the whole car. So that was a unique thing. At least for Germany it's unique. That's the way they treat the car. So what I found out, that car was a really classic uh, Mercedes-Benz of those times. And that car was used by Elvis Presley, the great actor. So they wrote that this is his car, and they said it's useless. We cannot, refurbish it or restore the car. So they made it very natural. They made the trees and all go through it. So it's a very unique sight to see, a piece of art, to show that everything undergoes disease, decay, and death. Everything undergoes change. So your wholesome living of your material life is okay, but live with that behind your mind, that these things are corruptible, they do not last forever. Your wholesome living cannot last forever. But your soulsome living, Jivatma connected with Shivatma, will last forever. And therefore today, I teach you these soulful techniques. These are all called soulful techniques. They're techniques of the soul.